Happy Friday. We are live again. And today we have a topic which is really, really close to my heart. And the whole March is going to be around how do we build innovative cultures where people are not afraid to screw up. So let's get started. Wherever you are joining me from, whether it's LinkedIn or YouTube or StreamYard, feel free to ping me a message and let me know that you are there. Let's move ahead. For those who are seeing me for the first time, I am Zora. Originally from Finland, lived in Switzerland for many, many years, many decades. 20 years in HR, most recently with Apple for 9 years. I'm a licensed psychologist, so what I present here is evidence-based. Neuroscience is one of my big passions. You will hear about it today as well. I also do executive development and culture change journeys with corporations. So that's about me. Let's move ahead with our topic today. So I'm gonna break down to you the brain science of screwing up. How does it happen? How to make it easier for people to feel safe to screw up. And then we look into the psychological unsafety that it creates when people are scared to screw up. And also, how does it feel when people are not scared to screw up and see screwing up as part of the process? Then we talk about the leadership change that needs to happen in companies in order to create highly innovative organizations where trial and error is part of the culture. And then at the end, again, I have a little tool for you, fearless fumble habit that leaders can build and practice. And trust me, it's not going to be a simple and easy one. If you've never done this before, the first moments will be feeling super awkward, but I've built it in such a way that it has a bit of a soft landing. So you are not put directly into the deep end of the pool. So hope you will enjoy that as well. So let's dive into one of my favorite topics, neuroscience, and how does our brain react to the fear of failure, especially if our programming, if the kind of software that we have been running on since we were very, very young has been programmed that screwing up is a failure and is a mistake and is a fatal, ever to avoid outcome. This is what happens in the brain when that goes on. So those who have watched my recent sessions already know that we all have this kind of a central alarm system in our brains. It's called amygdala. It's a super tiny little, like a almond-sized button in our brain, which serves as a central alarm system. Its role is there to help protect us from any danger, and that's the place that sets a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response when needed. So let's imagine you are approaching a situation and realize, okay, here is a chance to screw up. And your mind goes, oop, I might screw this up. And your amygdala is then saying, okay, let's kind of assess, is this a danger or not? And the amygdala then goes to the hippocampus, which are your city archives. This is the place where all the memories lie, especially those emotionally charged, which usually failure or screwing up is a very highly emotionally charged memory. So the amygdala will quickly go and check out all the memories and sees, not really good memories on screwing up, but a whole lot since childhood, perhaps, bad memories on screwing up and failing. And before you know it, your mind is already flooded with all sorts of images, memories. emotions, your heart starts to already race, because it remembers all those moments when failing and screwing up felt bad. So amygdala then says, no, yeah, this is clearly a danger thing. We don't like this. And I'm introducing to you a new part of the brain, which has a very long and difficult name, but let's call it the ACC. So anterior cingulate cortex, which is basically the kind of the emergency response team. They will come in and check in and say, okay, what do we do with this? And that is where this kind of cognitive dissonance in terms of we have a goal we want to develop, but then again, we have a risk of failure here as well. So they have this kind of internal conflict that the emergency response team is trying to understand. Shall we go ahead with it or not? And the ACC, the emergency response team, then sends information to another part of the brain, which is called the striatum. And this is kind of like the reward system within our brain. And in this kind of city metaphor that I'm building here for you, it's like almost like the economic and incentive board. So the incentive board will then say, you know what, the potential of loss is too high. So even if it's part of the goal, there's a loss and it's way too high. Now that then, and all of this, of course, happens like you cannot even think, and it's already happened. But I'm breaking down the kind of cycle when screwing up is a fearful failure. And then once the economic incentive board has also said, you know what, there's a way to, the risk of loss is high, and we don't incentivize that anyhow. The inspiration center in our brain that usually gets us enthusiastic on something, it spikes our mood to give it a try if it's trained like that. But if it's trained to kind of comply with rules and don't take part of the risks, then the inspiration center is going to say, no, not part of our policy, not part of our values. Everybody kind of stick with the lane you have. And like that, guess if the person is going to take the risk or not? Even if the manager says, well, you know what, you can come to my, I never will punish you for a risk or failure, the person won't. So this cycle, next time a new opportunity for the person comes to take a risk again, or perhaps try something new, the same loop happens again, because the hippocampus again recorded the new memory of this is how you avoid the pain of screwing up. Our brain is just incredibly lazy as well. It will continue running this program as long as there's no update. But we all can update this, and this is the beauty. Even though many say, but I'm too old and I can't, you know what, you can't teach old foxes new tricks. Yes, you can. And here is a way how the brain operates when screw up is not seen as a failure. So here's a version where screw up actually is seen as a part of growth. So in the same way, the amygdala will react. That's its role. So you have the same project ahead of you or task ahead of you, and the amygdala will tell you again, hold on, let's assess this. But if your programming makes your amygdala go, I might screw up or grow or both, that already creates a different type of a kind of a ripple effect in your brain. And as we know, I've mentioned to you, the moment your amygdala is calm, your neocortex, the thinking brain, is actually quite active. In the previous one, when your amygdala is busy protecting you from taking any risks and creating failure, your neocortex, the kind of the logical, rational thinking brain, is on standby. But now, if amygdala is saying, you know what, this could be part of a growth as well for me, and kind of adopts this kind of growth mindset, which also Simon Sinek talks about, then your neocortex can also play a lot logical and rational role in making the right decisions. So if this happens, so amygdala then goes again to hippocampus, it's the same route. And the hippocampus actually has a few growth memories of screwing up and said, hey, look at here, you really fumbled, but look what you learned from it. And then you grew from that experience. Of course, there are also the other ones. There are also the bad experiences. But the more we can start to associate and have those great memories of screwing up, the more the brain starts to be available for us to practice it again, because our brain will go through those memories. And maybe this time the hippocampus will show images of tough moments, but then at the end, learning and joy and growth, and good conversations with the leaders, and that kind of a team, maybe somebody from the team coming to help you out as well. And again, the hippocampus then sends a message to the ACC, to the emergency response team. And again, if the emergency response team is being kind of reprogrammed to say, yep, you got this. This is part of the goal. Goal is not only to succeed, but to grow as well. Then it will pass it over to the economic and incentive board, which will say, yeah, well, let's incentivize this. Let's make it sound like this is a great calculated risk, and let's incentivize and fuel dopamine and endorphins to help the person feel ready for taking up this chance. And the inspiration center, the cheerleaders there are also kind of like fueling it with, yeah, they're smart. The whole part of smart risk taking is part of our culture. And that is a loop where innovation, screwing up, can happen in a more safe way. And it's a place where people will feel they will grow, but also that they are supported to fail or screw up in case that happens as well. If you have any questions about these parts of the brain or how they react to each other, feel free to pose me a question on the chat. Then let's move forward. So that's basically the brain science. So we have a program running, and if we've, for most of our lives, have been told off when we did something wrong or we failed, or if, for example, during school time already, maybe our parents were very, very disappointed if we got some bad notes, even if we tried our best. Those memories are there still in the hippocampus. And now in a work environment, that creates as well kind of like an undercurrent, sometimes very invisible. Sometimes you might have a leader who is absolutely fine for people to fail and screw up, but the people have their kind of emotional backpack, which they need to help reset and reprogram in order to be there with the leader. So let's have a look at what does it mean with the psychological unsafety and safety. Amy Edmondson from Harvard is the kind of mother of the whole theme of psychological safety, and she basically says that, like, what is the risk, interpersonal risk, the individual is willing to go in order to take this action. And if they fear more than anything the risk, the psychological safety is very low. But if they feel like, well, you know what, I trust my team, they will support me, I can ask for help, I can share my ideas. Maybe they are silly ideas, maybe they are actually breakthrough ideas. That is then when the psychological safety is high and the risk, perceived interpersonal risk, is very low. So on the left-hand side, we have this when screwing up is growth. In that environment, psychological safety is high as well, and the interpersonal risk is very low. So people feel like I can share my ideas, and there are space for outlier perspectives. Maybe something that you feel like, well, this is maybe a silly thing to say, or maybe nobody else thinks like this, but actually many do, and it feels safe to express those. Admit in those environments, you admit your mistakes quickly. You learn from the failures. You have brainstorm sessions, and out of all of that, you have better decisions and better breakthrough innovations and ideas as well. So when screwing up is basically seen as the growth and the birthplace of the best ideas, and the culture and the leadership enable that, not only in words but in action, and we'll come to that with our tool. That is where we start building high innovative cultures. Versus the other side, where screwing up is a massive failure and might cost you your job. There comes this hesitance to share own views. As said, the interpersonal risk feels a bit too much or very much, and then you rather just keep yourself quiet. You don't share maybe a differing view. You don't feel even invited to share that. And that is where there is this kind of trap of common knowledge. So these kind of outlier perspectives get silenced or never surface. They are not maybe actively silenced, but they won't surface. And then sometimes they are actively silenced. People will quickly belittle it or make a comment, especially as a leader, that might send your team a message saying, next time I'm not going to say anything anymore. In that psychological unsafety, people desperately hide their mistakes. They feel they are bruised by failure. And instead of brainstorming, there are blame-storming sessions. So people are being thrown under the bus, and some actively throw each other under the bus and finger point. And of course, that's where inefficient decisions take place, because not all most important information is on the table, as well missed opportunities. So psychological safety and this kind of helping to build a screw-up culture where it's safe to screw up is definitely a big cornerstone of innovation. And that's definitely something that some amazing companies in this world know and leverage. Now, leadership change. So what has to change? And many of the leaders I've worked with and still work with currently and coach say, but Zora, I never ever have punished anybody from mistakes. My door is always open. And if there's an issue, they should come and tell. And if they've made a mistake, they can come to tell me about it. And that's actually the problem. Let me show you why. So here is the sentence all leaders should learn by heart. You are safe to screw up here. Not. And let me help you to understand why. Because this is one of those moments where if leaders encourage and say you are safe to screw up here, you are safe to make mistakes, but they themselves are being perceived perfect and kind of never erring superhuman creatures. That is where, again, the emergency response team in the people's minds goes into a inner conflict, saying, okay, he says or she says we can screw up, but he or she never does. So is it really safe or not? So instead, what can you do? Instead, Instead, you say, hey, team, today I screwed up. And then you share. What did you do? How did you screw up? And you start by yourself. You don't expect your team to be the brave one to go first, but actually you as a leader are going to be saying, hey, team, just wanted to say today I really messed up, or I made a mistake. I should have known better. I screwed up. I fumbled, whatever fits your way of saying things. But that's where it starts. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you a little tool, a habit that can help you to get there. Because it's really, if you haven't done that before, it can be very hard as a leader, because we leaders are somehow programmed to know all the know all the answers and always almost like do the right thing. And doing a failure or mistake is almost shown as a weakness. Well, it's not. And actually, it's role modeling exactly the opposite than you are expecting your team to kind of behave. So here we go. Before I share with you the tool, I'm just looking into next week. We are looking at the secret of high impact feedback. The biggest mistake of coaching comes then, and then want ideas, don't ever say this. So every week on Friday at 1:00 Central European time, I go live. So hope to see you there. We have a quick comment from Perry. Oh, thank you. I do hope that understanding also the brain science of the kind of fear of failure helps to understand how important it is to reprogram it. But now to the tool. And fun fact about me, I like American football. As a Philly fan, I was happy to see Philadelphia Eagles win. My son plays as well. So this is a little secret many people don't know about me. And that's where I learned the term fumble. So obviously, if you fumble in a Super Bowl in front of everybody, yeah, it's going to be obvious. You cannot hide it. You cannot tuck the ball under your jersey and or blame someone else. It's obvious. And in order to kind of get quickly over it, you'll just need to acknowledge it. And here comes my habit for you, which is the Fearless Fumble Friday. Whenever it's a Friday, like today, connect with your team and create a routine, a habit. Maybe you have a meeting that you can kind of habit stack this one with. So at the beginning of the meeting, you say, you know what, we are going to practice fearless fumbles as of now. And then you go first. You don't expect the team to chime in. Whenever they are ready, they will start. Believe me, I've seen this happen. They will chime in and start sharing their fumbles. Maybe a couple of weeks later than when you started. So what you want to do is share with your team a moment that made you first laugh at yourself. Like I said, I'm not going to throw you into the kind of deeper end of the pool right away. This is something where you can laugh at yourself and share, you know what, like I always share when I first time made poached eggs, it was terrible, a massive mess and wasted eggs in my kitchen. But yeah, pick a topic where you are a learner and you are really trying something new and you fumbled, and laugh at yourself and share that little story. Don't expect others to do it. You just go first. And then eventually others will chime in. Second level is where you actually share a moment, maybe private or professional, where you cringed at yourself. So you can say, you know what, today driving to the office, there was a huge kind of traffic jam, and I totally lost my marbles, and I don't know, show the middle finger to the other car, whatever, and you can share a bit more deeper truth about yourself and how you fumbled and how you cringed at yourself, or a situation that happened at work. Okay, then when you've done these two, you can go one level deeper, and then you can say, okay, I had this kind of Britney Spears moment, oops, I did it again, where you recognize you have a habit, maybe a kind of you, or maybe it's a habit, or it's a same mistake that you did again, and you said, oof, team, I messed up again, or did the same thing I promised I will never do, and here it is. So you share with them something that they probably already know, that you fumbled before. And then the kind of fourth level, the pro level, is where you just fearlessly fumble. And you just kind of openly share, hey, you know what, team, I want to gather us today and really just apologize and share, I've screwed up today or this week. This is what I did. And you know what, this is what I learned. This is for me something I needed to learn. I'm sorry that if it impacted you as well, but totally own my mistake and fumble. And I just wanted to make it open for you. So that's a Fearless Fumble Friday habit every leader should have and should try. And yes, it feels uncomfortable because it almost goes against our grain. But if you start to do it, the magic will happen, your team will start to do it, and you will start to create an environment, a company, a culture where screwing up is for growth, and you are in a place on that psychological safety where the biggest breakthroughs and the best decisions have place. So where to find this document as well? So as shared in the past, all of these Level Up Lives are then stored in the lounge. It's a free lounge. You can go in and get all these materials there and the keynotes for your own use. And then you can also sign up and join my next event on Friday next week. Thank you for watching. And if you still have a question, feel free to drop in the chat, and happy to answer those. But if not, then we are landing even 3 minutes in advance. Wish you all a wonderful Friday and a weekend, and go screw up. Thank you. Bye-bye.